You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In the studio with me today is Mr. Mike Goldberg from Del Mar. Thank you for coming out.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jim Atkins from Ardella. Thank you. So, gentlemen, I want to bring in Dr. Jason Arrington. He is a Wicomico County resident, and he's newly appointed by the governor to the Dispensary Board, which is related to but not the same as the Board of License Commissioners, which does like liquor licenses. I want to get a sense because we have been watching for the last 3 years at every one of these legislative breakfasts. The one common theme is our county executive, time and time again, makes new liquor bills her number one priority, or one of her top priorities, I should say.
It's interesting that she's doing that. It seems to me that we have some higher priorities in this county, and yet the proliferation of liquor sales seems to be at the very front. Perhaps it has something to do with campaign donors. Just saying. You
got to look at the campaign finance forms to figure that out. I think Jim already has. Jim, I want to get a sense from you, and I want to ask Dr. Arrington, is he familiar with this step? And does he feel like this is just an incremental basis to get proliferation of liquor stores in Wicomico County?
Yeah, and speaking to him at other functions, yes, it's just, I hate to use the phrase, but it's just a slippery slope. This is just one more step. And of course, the liquor board will continue to say that the state dictates how many liquor stores you can have in the county, and Wicomico can only have 3. Well, every year when legislative session goes into effect, the state can change that number.
Add more.
So, it's just...
particularly if the county executive gets a county council that's very favorable to her, and they're able to just ram this stuff through.
Agrees with it and sends the letters up with the delegation. And
well, let's bring in Dr. Arrington, and let's just see what he has to say. Yeah. Okay. So stay with us. When we come back, we're going to bring in Dr. Jason Arrington, talk about his new appointment to the Liquor Dispensary Board. Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with us now is Dr. Jason Arrington from Wicomico County.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks.
Mr. Jim Atkins from Ardella.
Good morning.
So you're newly appointed onto the Dispensary Board, right?
Correct.
In Wicomico County?
Yes, just starting this past July kind of thing.
What does that board do, and how does it differ from the Board of License Commissioners?
So the Dispensary Board is appointed by the state, by the governor, and its sole purpose is to oversee the functions of the liquor dispensary system for Wicomico County.
Okay.
So that really is the retail package sale of liquor. It's not the overseeing of liquor license in restaurants and so forth.
That's what the Board of License Commissioners does?
Correct.
How many is on your board?
3.
3. And you said you're appointed by the governor. Do you have to be approved by the council, like the
ethics committee? And yes, it has to go through. It's a process where your name gets put forward. You have an application that you put in. They check for conflicts of interest, and then I think they do a background search, and then ultimately, the governor is the one who makes the pick.
I gotcha. So, what inspired you to want to apply for this? So,
it's kind of funny. During COVID, when things were slow, I started collecting bourbons. I did my training at part of my residency at University of Kentucky, which obviously is a big deal. And there wasn't a lot going on. And one of the things I noticed is that the price of liquor varies dramatically by liquor store. I don't know if you've ever gone, like when you start going, because a lot of people are just in the habit of going to their store that they go to. But if you look between our county, Ocean City, just different places, it was really surprising. And as I, was looking for these bourbons that are hard to find, you figure out that there's a system, and it's called allocated bourbons. Like some of these higher sought after bourbons are only so many per store to sell, right?
To allocate to those.
Right. Okay. And unlike Scotch, where Scotch, they just jack the price up. A rare bottle of Scotch is very expensive. Bourbon, for the most part, they don't, but it gets very hard to find. So you really have to go searching for a lot of these bottles. And as that's what got me just kind of looking and starting to see like this world that was going on that most people have no idea. Yeah. And then talking to like the managers, then to come to find out, I was like talking to the manager at the Wycomico at the liquor store here, and he explained to me the dispensary system. And at first I was like, that's kind of crazy. That's sort of a throwback to the old days. I can't believe we still have it. He's like, Maryland and Montgomery County still has this dispensary system. And what that does, a couple things. One, he does not raise the prices. I mean, he basically does manufacturer suggested retail prices. Yeah. And so he keeps it. And that's the main reason why you see we're lower than Ocean City and so forth. The other thing I found out, there is a limit. There's no other liquor stores can be opened in Wycomico County without approval from Annapolis.
Right now, anyway.
Correct.
Yes.
And then the third thing was that basically the profit from the liquor stores, it goes straight to the county.
Yes.
And there's no county employees, there's no pension, there's no workman's comp to worry about. It's like this private institution does all the work and just hands over the money, on a quarterly basis.
To the tune of about $900,000 a year.
Correct.
Prior to us breaking the monopoly.
Correct.
Now, Jim, I don't know how you feel about the monopoly. I was glad that it was broken, but I'm very glad that we still have a dispensary system.
Well, it was mixed feelings. I think one of the things that really came out, positive things, there were some changes in the dispensary system when all this liquor bill started 2 years ago, and the Liquor Commission was more flexible with deliveries to the restaurants and the different people, giving some discounts to different volume buyers and things that they hadn't done before. And they made a lot of steps, I felt, to accommodate the restaurants and the liquor stores to make their business better than what it had been before, and to give them that. But when you look at a operation that gives between $900,000 and $1 million back to the county every year and doesn't cost the county a cent to operate, it's hard to argue with that.
It's a pretty sweet deal.
Yes, I mean, if I didn't have to go to work and I got my paycheck sent to me every quarter, I'd stay home too,
So have you kept abreast of the new proposed liquor bills?
Yes.
And what's your opinion on that?
And
okay.
I'm also, I'm a capitalist, right? I believe in, free market. Don't get me wrong. But I'm also a physician, and the world I work in, you just can't practice medicine without a license. It's, there's an oversight from the state, from, different boards. Just like you can't open a drugstore. You can't throw one up on the corner. Same thing. It is that what you're selling has ramifications for the community. So that's why there's a very tight control of that. And I see liquor as falling into that category. That, I think this is one of the things that I believe that there is appropriate oversight.
And it should be scrutinized.
Correct. Now, you don't, in my opinion, a liquor store in every corner is not what we want.
Okay.
If you go to some like cities and even Ocean City, you just walk around, they're everywhere. And unfortunately, that brings in a certain clientele. You can just go to the store, by Acme, and you see, anytime you go in there, you see. And who wants another situation like that close to their, home or their church or their school?
Especially a concentration of them.
Correct.
I mean, having one is one thing, but having a concentration, especially near the college, would be
And that leads exactly, what Dr. Arrington is talking about, leads exactly to one of the three changes that they talk about with the liquor bills, and that's the eliminating the approval from the surrounding property owners and homeowners where you're going to put a liquor store. Yeah. Because, quote unquote, it's so hard to talk to the real owners, and it's a safety problem to walk up and knock on their door and ask them to sign a petition. So,
well, they did kind of table that one, but they said change it somewhat and then bring it back. I want to see, have you been keeping up with the other proposed changes?
It's the same thing. I mean, of course you should have a right. You should have to go around the area. There's a reason for that. The other thing we're talking about, we see like, any kind of industrial plant, like we have the Purdue chicken plant. The last thing you want is a liquor store right next to that, because unfortunately, and there's been studies that show that workers will kind of go out and get the little minis and they'll go. And I treat like hand injuries. I've seen plenty of injuries from chicken plants. And I just think it just doesn't make sense. It's to have a situation like that where unfortunately, workers are drinking alcohol kind of on the sly. The employer doesn't know, and then that's just going to increase your risk for injury.
Now, one of the consensuses that they did take, which was only passed 4-3 to even move forward from the work session last week, was to detach the requirement for the Class A licenses to have a restaurant.
You do have three pieces of proposed legislation in front of you. The first one we will revisit at this time is the proposed legislation to delete the requirement that the holder of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license also must operate a restaurant and hold a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license.
It's always the statement that's first step. We've heard that before. Changing this like you want it changed now would just be the first step into having more liquor stores in Wicomico County. It's Board of License Commissioners.
Yes.
Where does that give you the authority, especially authority to expend monies to an attorney to try to change the alcohol laws in the county? Because you're the license commissioners, you're the ones that actually see who's going to get the licenses, and control who's selling alcohol. If you're charged with enforcement, how's it implied that you want to change the law?
I don't think we're going to agree, Mr. Holloway, but I would say
No, I'm
that
not
it's
trying to
implied.
disagree. I'm just wondering how it is.
Well, it's implied. That's
Where's
how I would.
Where's it implied?
It's implied in the language that gives the board the enforcement power of the alcohol laws. And you might
That's the
disagree.
enforcement. That's not changing the law.
Well, I'm answering your question, and that's the answer.
Yeah.
Jordan.
So the Wicomico County Board of License Commissioners, it is to your point, it is our charge to oversee the sale and consumption of alcohol in Wicomico County. That also includes enforcement, but it also includes our businesses, our economic drivers for this county. So what we as a board, our intent is to look at the entire picture. We're going to look at the enforcement, we're going to look at the safety. We're also going to look at the economic drivers for our county and for our businesses. So where we as a board, if we see a business need that we feel is lacking or is necessary, then we discuss it as our board and we decide, is this something that requires or that would need a legislative change, and then we bring it before you as the council.
I do not support this because the main reason I don't trust the legislation that whoever came up with this, because every year it's always been something about alcohol. Next year, it's going to be something about alcohol. So if it's required to, and I don't see any harm, because what's going to open the door, and you might say it's not, it's going to open the door for other people wanting the alcohol. You might have to go to court for it. If you let one not have a restaurant, you're going to have others that want the same thing. And I'm doing it because of the trust factor, because here we go again, something has to go up before the General Assembly, and somebody is pushing this, not necessarily commissioners, but somebody's pushing this alcohol stuff, and I'm not supporting it at all. And
we're going to take a consensus here because of time. And
Absolutely.
We've already had a work session referencing this. Shaney, yours is a no.
no.
Dave?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
James?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Josh?
If we can get the language to put a cap on the size of the stores and or come up with a plan to stop the concentration in certain areas.
Your vote was no, Joe. The chair votes yes, so we have a consensus of 4-3 to move forward with decoupling the restaurant from the liquor store.
And Councilman Joe Holloway brought up that this seems to be the first step, and Councilwoman Cheney Shields did as well, to add more liquor stores. As a physician and as a resident, what is your feeling if you feel like do you feel like we're going down a slippery slope to add more liquor stores, and what do you think that would look like?
I think you're exactly right. It's like little what they call baby steps, and they're trying to get all these little pieces of the puzzle in place to do that. Because I think most people would acknowledge that if you were to just poll everyone in the county, do you want more liquor stores? A vast majority would say no. And this is how you kind of have to go step by step, where someone's like, they don't even understand what that means.
Yeah.
Those 2 liquor stores were grandfathered in, and it was because they were attached to restaurants. And so they're trying to change that law so that doesn't have to be there. And, because of that, I don't support it. I mean, our policy is right now liquor sales are down nationally, somewhere's up of 40%. They're down locally. It just doesn't make sense to have more liquor stores in a county when sales are down.
So let's talk about that. Why do you think liquor sales are down across the country and in the county as well?
The number one reason is because of cannabis sales.
Okay.
And we've seen that, it started in Colorado, was the first state to do it, and you've seen that trend. So far and away, that's the number one. And then I think number 2 is that it's harder, like if you drink and drive, you're going to get caught, especially in Maryland, Ocean City, the law enforcement, they're on the ball. It's very hard if you're, taking in cannabis, there's no immediate, test for that. And I think that's part of the reason you're seeing a shift, especially in younger people going that way, which, it's kind of scary. And as someone who's worrying about the health of the county, that's a whole nother issue, but that's worrisome.
Well, and you have the cannabis thing is a direct example of the county really has no control over cannabis regulations. It's passed down from the state. When these regulations started, the county wanted to extend areas, boundaries, and everything, but their plan was more than the state's plan, so they had to go back to the state level. Well, that's going to be the same thing with alcohol. They're going to end up as the executive, and at that time, Delegate Arrington stated July of 2024 on the courthouse steps, the government office building steps, we have cracked the door open with liquor laws. Now let's bust through it.
Is truly amazing. I didn't think we'd get here. I hoped we'd get here. We had obstacles all along the way, from last minute amendments at the bill hearing but we got it despite the last minute amendments and changes. We got it through, and now it's on to the next step. Now that we cracked the door open, we just might as well walk on through. So again, to the business community, our restaurateurs, the Greater Salisbury Committee, Mike Dunn, we were on the phone several times. I was like, brother, these people are making me crazy. But we got it done. And so again, thank you.
Well, this is one of those baby steps. We've gone last year to changing liquor laws. We're in the middle of it again this year, and it's coming. I mean, the state raises taxes on alcohol. When you buy alcohol at a restaurant, you pay an alcohol tax. When you go to a dispensary or a liquor store, you pay an alcohol tax. Well, guess who benefits from that? The state of Maryland.
Yeah.
The state of Maryland. So why would the state of Maryland then say, we don't want any more liquor stores? Because it's a revenue for them, just like the cannabis is. It's a revenue for the state.
Have you kept up with the legislative breakfast? The county executive seems, in the last 3 that she's hosted, there's been a liquor bill proposed at each one of those. Even that's the most consistent item that's been on her agenda.
No, I'm not. I know they had it last Friday, but it does seem to be a priority, which I don't really understand. I mean, there's a lot of other issues going on that it seems to me that this. I don't understand why this is so prominent.
It's called campaign contributions, is what it's called, campaign contributions.
There's definitely a business aspect here, and one of the key components of the conversation in the work session was about this one open liquor license that's out there. Again, that's not on your board, it's on the Board of Licensed Commissioners. But the liquor store that was down on the west side near Bivalve that was attached to a restaurant that's now closed is closed. That license has been surrendered. It's an open license. It does appear that if the ability to detach it from a restaurant was to happen, that license is all of a sudden worth a lot more money than it is if it has to be opened with a restaurant attached. Would you agree?
Yes, of course, obviously.
Yeah. So as a physician, have you come across anyone who you can honestly say that alcohol has made them a better person or created a better life for them?
No, I think you're correct. I think history shows us that you can't get rid of alcohol. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
And I think that there doesn't need to be. I believe in responsible alcohol use. And I think that, the young person who has no exposure to alcohol and then gets shipped off to college, that's kind of like a nightmare, when there's no oversight and all of a sudden they're doing that. And we have a college here.
Yeah.
I think it is important for us as a community. It's not just the Wycomico County residents, it's those thousands of students that come in every year. We don't want them to be put in harm's way. It's already, it's a difficult time, and when they're becoming young adults. And so I think that we need to think about it. SU is the best thing going for this city. It's great. We're fortunate to have it, and I think as a community, we should do everything we can to try to help support it. And we want to keep crime down. We want to keep these students safe as much as possible.
Well, thank you for coming in to talk about this. As you get more experience on the dispensary board, I'd love to have you come back in and get a fresh perspective of what you're seeing.
Sure, I would love to. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching this segment of Open Agenda. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Back in the studio with us is Mr. Mike Goldberg from Del Mar. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for sticking around, Jim.
Yep.
So it was interesting to get a sense from Dr. Arrington what motivated him to get on the dispensary board, and maybe even what his plan or what some of the questions he's going to ask are as he gets forward. What sense did you get, Mike?
Well, I think he's taken very much a common sense approach to the issue. I, for one, am very concerned about the proliferation of alcohol or any psychoactive substance. And let's face it, alcohol is a psychoactive substance. It is a drug. It is the most abused drug in our society, and it is also the most addictive. So to allow it to proliferate is dangerous. I think it's going to have enormous impact on our city, on our county. And Dr. Arrington seems to be aware of that. He's conscious of that. And from what I heard from him, his approach is being directed accordingly. I liked what I was hearing.
Yeah. Jim, you spoke many times, and you even said with Dr. Arrington about the financial side.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should get lost on folks. I mean, it's easy to just assume that there'll be a $900,000 in our stocking at Christmas morning, but maybe there won't be. And Dr. Jovanosa at times has talked about where would those funds have to come from to make up for it. I want to get a sense from you, like, do you feel like we're just taking this for granted? Or do you feel like there is a plan in place to mitigate the loss of revenue?
Well, our county executive stated 2 years ago when all this started that if she couldn't find a revenue source to replace what was lost from the dispensaries, that she shouldn't be the county executive. The dispensary this year are going to be contributing roughly $500,000 to the county.
Okay.
When I went to school, $500,000 was just about half of $900,000 to $1 million. So we need to come up with a revenue plan to find $500,000 that we were being given by the liquor dispensary. And the bottom line, again, is you're getting money from a system that you're not contributing a single penny to for employees.
It's a gift horse.
It is. It's an absolutely gift horse.
And let's talk about that. And Dr. Arrington said it, just so it's clear to everybody that these are not county employees.
Right.
They do not take a county pension. They do not take county benefits. They don't get a county paycheck. They get a paycheck from a quasi-private entity that is the Wicomico County Liquor Dispensary. And then in exchange for all of this, we've been given $900,000 to $1 million a year. We're still going to receive $500,000 or so.
Right.
We're in the middle of a fiscal year, but we haven't even gotten into, we haven't seen the fiscal audit of 25 yet that closed 4 months ago. We probably won't for many more months.
Right.
But
I don't know how we replace that lost revenue, though, because it's my understanding that the county cannot impose a liquor tax. That can only be imposed by the state.
By the state.
So how in the heck do we replace that lost revenue?
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, and it's just, it all comes back, maybe not all of it, but a large majority of it comes back to the cannabis legislation. I mean, the state has put that cannabis legalization out there, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. That doesn't really matter at this point. But there is a tax on that. The tax comes back, portions of it, to the county, but it is designated for certain projects. I mean, it's not...
And in certain parts of the county, too.
Certain parts.
The cannabis money has to be spent back into Tier 4 and Tier 5.
Yes.
And that's all managed through the local management board. And we saw 9 different organizations receive grants last year. I'm sure we're going to see more. But it's not as even as just say, hey, there's a $900,000 check coming back to the coffers.
No. And one of the things with the board... the community action group and the organizations that this money is designated for, as you heard probably 2 months ago now, one of them was for a prison, was it on Atlantic?
No, on
Pacific Avenue?
Pacific Avenue. Chesapeake Heights.
In Chesapeake. And the other one was for Poplar Hill Correctional, which has been shut down for so many years that we can't even remember when it was open last. So, who's controlling this stuff? And then you look at one of my biggest peeves is there was a business in Salisbury that relocated. Their business was turned into a cannabis dispensary, and right across the street from it, is a rehab center. What are we?
Very convenient.
What are we missing, folks?
Yeah.
We're trying to rehab people who have a weakness, whether it be alcohol, cannabis, whatever. We're trying to get these people back to where they're productive people, and then they can walk out of that door and walk right outside, and there's a sign for cannabis.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that alcohol should be available, that cannabis should be available, because it doesn't matter how many laws you pass.
People are going to
do it anyway. We had the old prohibition, then we had the new prohibition, and frankly, I think the legal consequences of being arrested for drugs or alcohol may be worse than the addiction itself. It certainly adds to the individual's problems, but it does have to be carefully controlled. Right now, what I'm saying is that the state has endorsed the use of these substances so that they can generate revenue.
Hey, look,
and it's the wrong motivation for doing it.
The state endorses things like lottery tickets and cigarette sales too. And I've believed this my whole life. These are actually taxes on the poor.
Yeah.
Cannabis, liquor, cigarettes, lottery tickets. They're disproportionately put out there in poorer communities. They still need to be regulated. They still need to be accessible because they're going to happen anyway, like you said. However, we don't need a proliferation of them. We don't need bookies on every corner running numbers. We don't need additional liquor stores on every corner just so it's more accessible, because we also don't need more rehab centers just because we have more liquor stores.
No, in my view, this is just another example of where the state cannot make a statewide legislation on this type of thing. It needs to be left to the counties.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate you coming in to talk about this, and I believe we're going to be talking about it more.
I believe it's...
Imagine we will.
So thanks for watching this episode of Open Agenda. We'll be back later this week with another new episode.
I know what I'm doing, man.
I'll drink to that.
Okay.